Chapter 2, The Miracle Trap. Since we are dealing with prayer as a science, it is important to confront the matter of miracles early in the book. For many persons, prayer is confused with the effort to work miracles. But there are no miracles in science, and there are no miracles in God. That may be a shocking statement, to some almost sacrilegious. But before you lay the book aside in protest, hear me out. Recently, I received a brilliantly colored sticker in the mail intended for a bulletin board or a car bumper. Expect a miracle. Well-intentioned enthusiasts for the new insight and truth have printed up thousands of these slogans to encourage faith in things working out in a positive way, a very worthy cause. But however enticing it may be to hope for divine intervention on your behalf, I say, don't expect a miracle. If you center your consciousness on the expectation of miracles, you are playing Russian roulette with universal law, hoping for some cosmic sleight of hand to reach into your life and bring about changes. It is putting the full weight of your consciousness on the side of belief in a universe of caprice. God doesn't deal in miracles. God is the wholeness of life, substance, and intelligence, which is always present. It is not a miracle that is needed ever, but the discipline of consciousness to let thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. The pray for a miracle attitude is often an unwillingness to take charge of one's own life, to take responsibility for one's experience. And when we fail to take responsibility for our experiences, we look for the cause of our problems and needs out there in what he did or what they failed to do, in the weather, the economy, or bad luck. But when we insist that the cause of conditions is outside of us, the change can only come from a change of conditions or fortune out there. In prayer, then, we are looking for God to change things for us. But God can do no more for you than he can do through you. In some way, you have participated in the problem that may be manifesting itself in your life. That is what consciousness is all about. Thus, to effect change, you must participate in the solution by changing your consciousness. Paul said in Romans 12, verse 2, "Be transformed by the renewal of your mind." He does not say, "Be transformed by having a miraculous power possess you from outside." No, by the renewal of your mind. A miracle is defined as a violation of the laws of nature. Of course, this is an absurdity based on a lack of understanding of what we call natural law. Henry Drummond says that science can hear nothing of a great exception. There are no laws in nature. There are only laws of nature, which are descriptions we have made of our perception of the way the universe functions. Scientists do not discover laws of nature. They invent them to describe the facts they find. The laws are mere descriptions of what has occurred in the past and what they have reason to believe will occur in the future. A book on chemistry, botany, or even astronomy is merely history. There can be no violation of natural law, for if it is truly law, there can be no exceptions. If there are exceptions, then the so-called law must be revised. If the biblical account of the axe head floating on the water in 2 Kings chapter 6, verses 5 through 6 is literally true, then there are fundamentals of nature involved of which we are not yet aware. That is all. It is precisely because of our tendency to read magic into the stories of the Bible that any practical implications they may have for today has been ignored. We have been profoundly influenced by the artist's attempt to visualize events and to depict Mark Connolly's great figure of God, who says in his Green Pastures, "I guess I will rear back and pass a miracle." This tendency to read supernatural phenomena into the accounts has often obscured the express instruction about a perfectly natural cause. The parting of the Red Sea, for example, is quite clearly explained as being caused by a strong east wind all night. Exodus 14, verse 21. The miracle, if such it was in the timing. The Israelites crossed at low tide, and the Egyptian forces were swept away by the inrushing return of the waters at high tide. The account clearly says, "The sea returned to its wonted flow when the morning appeared, and the Lord routed the Egyptians in the midst of the sea." Exodus 14, verse 27. However, the Expect a Miracle groups have perpetuated the myth of Cecil B. DeMille's God reaching down from on high and damming up walls of water with his great hands. It is important to note that Jesus clearly says, "He who believes in me, in truth, will also do the works that I do, and greater works than these will he do." John 14, verse 12. While everyone was calling them miracles, he was simply calling his healings his works. He knew and practiced the healing art because he understood the mental and spiritual laws governing healing. Jesus in his life gave full expression to the Christ principle. This Christ principle is the whole person of each one of us, truly our hope of glory. When Jesus said, "He who believes in me," he meant anyone who believes in his or her own wholeness. And from this point of wholeness, all things are possible. Many persons pray for a miracle in a critical situation, when all that is needed is the acceptance of the truth that what they want may be beyond their normal experience, but not beyond the power of the creative process within them. Why should it be a miracle or supernatural phenomenon for any of us to be healed of illness? Isn't that which created us and sustains us capable of making us whole? It is essentially a matter of semantics or perceptions and expectations. But to talk of miracles in a given situation is a very subtle form of defeatism. So, when I say, "Don't expect a miracle," I am certainly not expressing skepticism of the tremendous power to heal or prosper or adjust, or questioning the full implication of the statement, "All things are possible." For when we deal with changeless spiritual law, we have even greater faith in the wonder-working process, but we don't have to play games. Of course, when we work with divine law from the highest perspective, the unusual will become commonplace, and wonderful things will begin to occur. But I say again, don't fall into the miracle trap, for by so doing, you will tend to give up control of your life. Take charge with a willingness to be a part of the solution of your challenges. The working out of your good need not be limited to a miracle coming out of the caprice of God. Greater things shall you do, even exceeding the miracles conceived by your shaky faith. All things are possible, all things. To one who has been obsessed with a personal weakness, hoping to overcome it might seem like reaching for the moon. Now that we have witnessed a moon landing and seen astronauts walking on the surface of the moon, that cliche has lost its validity, hasn't it? It is not even true to say about your weakness, but this is simply the way I am. The weakness or limiting habit began as an early tendency, as a reaction to life, which in time became a pattern. But if your subconscious mind could learn a pattern of negativity, it can also learn a new positive pattern. No matter how long or how severely you have been in the clutches of alcoholism or some other addiction, no divine intervention or dramatic miracle is required for your healing. You can change. You don't have to be that way. You can find great help through prayer. But as you come to understand the science of prayer, you will realize that it is not an act of entreaty to God. It is turning the focus of your consciousness away from the problem to your center of being in God, and giving way to the creative flow which will stream forth therapeutically from within your innermost self. So, again, don't fall into the trap of expecting miracles to remove your addictions or to solve your problems. Don't reduce your practice of truth to playing games with divine law. If you really believe you are entitled to the fullness of the kingdom, the results may appear miraculous, for wonderful things can and will be done. However, this is the natural fulfillment of divine law. The healing you long for, the overcoming you desire, the prosperity and success you have been spiritually working for, do not call for miracles, but for the disciplined application of divine law and the steady effort to know God. The great ideal of spiritual seeking is to be in tune with the infinite. To traffic in such thoughts as only a miracle can save him and it's impossible, but I expect a miracle, is to be in tune with the indefinite. Prayer is a science, and there are no miracles in science. There are no miracles in an orderly universe. All things are possible. Henry David Thoreau says it all in these lines from his essay Walden. He writes, "If one advances confidently in the direction of his dreams and endeavors to live the life which he has imagined, he will meet with a success unexpected in common hours. He will put some things behind, will pass an invisible boundary. New, universal, and more liberal laws will begin to establish themselves around and within him. Or the old laws be expanded and interpreted in his favor in a more liberal sense, and he will live with the license of a higher order of beings."